Hello, every pony. Nightlife here, and I just now got done reading Fall Equestria Prioritizing Chapter 18, and now I'm going to do the next chapter in My Little Mommies. Oh yes, that's right, my little ponies. I'm doing the whole gauntlet. Yes. Oh snap! I need to start rendering that file into Chapter 18 into MP3 format because it's still in the AUP thing, which is like Audacity's main project file type. So I need to go and export that real quick. I'll just get started and then continue recording while it's exporting. Hopefully I won't confuzzle things. Okay, while that's going, let's bring up My Little Mommies, shall we? Okay, need to check through my files to see which one I was left off on. That will take 1 second. Okay, here it is. Alright. Aww. I'm sorry, it's a banner of fan fiction. Is that one of Twilight with bandages over her eyes and Rainbow Dash reading to her. So cute. Alright, looks like we're on chapter 3, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. My Little Mommies, chapter 3, The Spider. The itsy bitsy spider, na 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 na. Na 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 na. Waiting for the page to load. Na 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 na. Okay, it's up, and oh, scroll too far. All right, here we go. Spike was beginning to worry. Oh wait, no, this is chapter 3 of My Little Mommies, chapter 3, The Spider, by 3 Power. Very important. Must name the author. Because they wrote this crap, and I'm reading it. All I'm doing is spouting words out of my muzzle. Spike was beginning to worry. The girls were due back an hour ago, and there hadn't been any sign of them. He knew it was silly. When they had told him what time they had expected to return, it was just that, an expectation. Just because they were an hour overdue, it didn't mean. Oh, sorry, this font is. My eyes aren't wanting to move fast enough. It didn't mean that they had been devoured by timberwolves or kidnapped by evil cultists or any of the other fanciful scenarios that. Oh, crap! 1 second. All right, here we go. Where was I? Fantastic, fanciful scenarios he had been involuntarily thinking up, even as he lounged in one of the hotel beds, munching on topaz he had, with some difficulty, managed to procure from the room service. That he had, with some difficulty, managed to procure from room service. He looked over the fountain pen and scroll. He looked over the fountain pen and scroll, laying on the bedside, but laying on the bedside table next to him. He stared at it intensely for a few seconds before ultimately shaking his head and turning back to his snack. Nope, not yet, he thought. He had remembered the last time Twilight hadn't come home and he'd panicked. It was when she was enrolled in the Magic Academy. The usual daily routine for Twilight back then was to come home from class, do her work, do independent research until bedtime, and then sleep. Then finally sleep. So when one day Twilight didn't come home, he went crazy with worry. For the first few hours, he ran around Canterlot, searching the hoofful of. I'm sorry, it's come little edit there. Hoofful, not handful. We're not talking to Lyra, and I'm not Lyra, so I'm not going to say hand. I'm going to say hoof. Dang it, I lost my place. A hoofful of There we are. Hoofful of locations Twilight frequented. when she wasn't in her dormitory suite, Donut Joe's, the park, the Canterlot Royal Library. No point had seen her anywhere. So he did what any sensible babe dragon would have done. He sent a letter to Celestia telling her Twilight had been full napped. Several hours in one top to bottom search of Camelot by the Royal Guard later, a furious Twilight Sparkle stood before Spike, along with a certain pony princess that was enjoying the situation a little too much. Once everything turned out to be fine, of course. According to Twilight, some friends had invited her to study with them, and she had been in their dorm room the whole time, right up until the heavily armored guard ponies broke down the door and tackled every pony to the ground. Unfortunately for Spike, the first words that came out of his mouth in response to this was, "You have friends?" Oh, I bet he got pimp slapped for that. Oh, even worse. She didn't speak to him for a week. For that whole period, she only came home late at night, and always went straight to bed the moment she walked in the door. It continued like that for days, until one particular night, things changed. Spike had heard her coming that night, like he always did. No matter how mad she was at him, he couldn't get to sleep until he knew she was home. He was curled up in his basket, pretending to be asleep, when she walked into the room. Without a word, she walked up to him, gently levitated him into the air, and carried him over to her bed. Spike, unsure of what was going on, kept feigning sleep, even as Twilight gently placed him under the covers and climbed under them herself. She gently wrapped her forelegs around him, just like she used to do when both of them were much younger. And then Twilight softly cried herself to sleep. It turned out that his hastily spewed words were on the mark. That his hastily spewed words were on the mark at all. After all, Twilight's friends were just using her to do their schoolwork for them, while they goofed off during their study sessions. In hindsight, Spike had thought getting tackled by the Royal Guard was an appropriate punishment for those ungrateful mares. I detest ponies that do that. Still, that hadn't meant his actions in sending that letter to the princess were justified. Even if the girl's tardiness worried him, it was important for him to have faith in Twilight and the others. Even so, he was going mad with worry, and just wished the universe would send him some sort of sign, some information he could use to determine whether or not the girls were okay or not. And then that's when the rain boom hit. Boom! That was me doing a bad impression of a rain boom. Yeah. And that one British dude, I don't know, there's one guy with a British accent watching my channel saying, "What? There's nothing like a rain boom." Or that one Aussie watches my channel. Whatever. I apologize. My net cut out for a second, and that caused my computer to go batshit. Oh well. The sound of the blast shook the hotel walls as waves of color washed over the city. Spike struggled to breathe as he choked on a piece of topaz that went down his windpipe. Oh, poor Spike. After a few coughs, he managed to dislodge it from his throat before returning to the hotel's window, opening it, and sticking his head out. The burst of color was just fading into the horizon, but it was enough for him to figure out what it was. He had seen Rainbow perform a sonic rain boom at Cadence and Shining Armor's wedding. It had to have been the same thing. If nothing else, it was a sign that they were still out there. But why had Rainbow gone supersonic? Was she just goofing off, or was she in trouble? Spike leaned out the window as far as he could safely do so, craning his neck in search for a sign of Rainbow's telltale streak of color. He couldn't see anything. A minute or so later, the sky was lit up again by a number of flashes, including one caused by a massive beam of light that shot into the night sky. The ponies of Manhattan had been shocked by the burst of rainbow-colored light that passed over their city, but many of them were now visibly panicking in the streets below. "That's it. Spike thought with newfound determination. I'm writing to the princess. Yeah, I'm writing to the princess. My name's Twilight Sparkle. I got buzzing with my pics. He ran back into the room, grabbed the pen and scroll from the bedside table, placed the former onto the ladder, and promptly snapped the tip off. Okay. Shoot! He cursed as that's really cursing, really. As he began tearing the room for a replacement. He searched under the bed, the lampshade, and the medicine cabinet before finally thinking of searching the writing desk. Success! He cried out as he removed a complimentary hotel feather pen from one of the drawers, dipped it in ink, and began to write. Dear Princess Celestia, he began. Pardon our intrusion! Came a voice from the window. Gah! Wow, Spike's apparently in puberty, with voice cracking and all. Yeah. Yelled Spike as he threw his writing materials into the air in surprise, fell onto his backside, and scampered backwards, slamming into the hotel room below. It took him only a moment for him to recognize the regal pony, now gingerly stepping into the room from the outside window. Princess Luna? He asked in wonder. Indeed, she replied, along with another. She levitated Rainbow into the room through the window and gently laid her down upon the bed. Rainbow! I read ahead a little bit, that's funny. Spike cried out, instantly noticing the bruises and cuts Rainbow had sustained. What happened? This is nothing, Rainbow replied. You should see the other guy. Bird, monster, thing, whatever. Spike cocked an eyebrow at Luna. Forgive this abruptness, young Spike, but we must request that thou contact our sister forthwith regarding tonight's events. Luna said, Events? Spike asked, You mean the rainbow and those lights? Rainbow Dash can inform thee of those particulars, and then she must rest. The princess cast her gaze at the injured Pegasus. Yeah, I got it, princess. Rainbow said as she slipped under the covers. As for us, Luna added, we must find Twilight Sparkle and the others. They may yet be in peril. Peril! Spike exclaimed. Princess, what's going on? As we said, Rainbow shall explain. Luna gently responded as she walked over towards the open window. But we swear to thee, young Spike, we shall do everything in our power to bring them safely back to you. Damn, that's a lot. And under a moon, and at night, with an apparent full moon. Damn, Luna's gotta be one of the most powerful entity in Equestria right now. Damn. Just damn. Hear me stall as I try to find my place. Alright, there we go. She then shuffled uncomfortably. That is, should we fail in this endeavor, we shall without fail insert bait confection into our eyeballs. Stick a cupcake in my eye. She blinked. Was that not the correct phrasing? Luna asked. Modern language confuses us greatly. No, I got it, Princess, Spike answered. Please bring them back safely. She did a pinky swear. From like 1,000 years ago, albeit, but oh well. We shall, Luna said as she leapt out the window, unfurled her wings, and took to the skies. All right, Spike said as he gathered the pen and scroll from where they fell on the floor. What's going on? He turned to face Rainbow and was greeted by her gentle snores. Rainbow! He yelled out angrily. Huh? What? What's up, Spike? She mumbled sheepishly. I need to contact the princess. Tell me what happened. He demanded angrily. Right. She mumbled. Dear Princess Celestia. Spike began copying down what Rainbow was saying, listening intently. Twilight and me are gonna be a mommy. Come quick, she said to her pillow. Huh? What's that supposed to mean? Rainbow! Rainbow! In response, Spike took a deep breath. Rainbow Dash! He yelled at the top of his lungs, but it was no use. Rainbow was completely, perfectly knocked out. Huh, crud, he said dejectedly. She's in the rainbow trance again. This had happened before on a few occasions, when Rainbow had completely exhausted herself. One such occasion was when she had flown the marathon from Las Pegasus to Cloudsdale. As soon as she got home to Ponyville after the race, she took a nap in one of the Apple family's trees and wouldn't respond no matter what they did. Normally, Applejack wouldn't have minded, but she was bucking the apples in that particular grove that day, and the tree Rainbow had chosen happened to be the oldest, biggest, and most bountiful one in the farm. Applejack enlisted the rest of her friends, including Spike, to attempt to rouse her, to no avail. In the end, Applejack just lost her patience and bucked the tree with Rainbow in it, leading to the Pegasus eventually regaining consciousness in a hospital room, getting treated for a dislocated wing. It took a while for Rainbow to forgive Applejack, despite how sorry the cow mare had been. In any case, Spike knew once she entered the state, the rest was the only thing that would snap her out of it. What? Do I have the thing paused? Oh, no, don't. Sorry. I'm sorry for shouting at you. Okay, what? He sighed and looked down at the nonsense he had written. Dear Princess Celestia, Twilight's gonna be a mommy. Come quick. A feeling of deja vu overcame the baby dragon. Somehow I felt like reading this letter wasn't going to turn out well for him. Saying this letter, for one thing, it was utter nonsense. There was no way a simple trip to the woods would result in Twilight having a baby. It also didn't explain the rain boom or flashes of light. Spike scratched his head and thought before glancing at the unconscious mare. Well, at least I have someone to pass the buck to, he said, signing Rainbow's name at the bottom of the letter. I should probably add a note about Luna, he continued, adding the words, P.S. Your sister has something to do with this, though I don't know the details. Spike. To the bottom of the letter. He stared at the letter intently for a few moments before sighing, resigned to the fact that this was as informative as the letter was going to get. He then walked to the window, rolled the letter up, and sent it on its way. Well, it's out of my hooves. It's out my hooves now, so to speak, he said as he watched the green smoke twist up in the night sky. I hope she gets here soon. Star. Page break! Princess Celestia had just tucked herself into her princess-sized bed and began levitating her usual warm glass of milk off where it sat on the bedside table, when a shed of green smoke emerged from the fireplace and made its way over to her, transforming into a scroll above her head with a burst of magic. Ah, she said with a smile, grabbing the scroll with her magic before it fell. Let's see what my most faithful student has discovered about that mansion. She unraveled the scroll and held it aloft in front of her, reading the first line just as she raised a glass of milk to her lips. I can sense a spit take coming. Music boomed through the room as the fuchsia-colored mare slowly walked down the catwalk, clad head to hoof, in an outfit adorned with rubies and phoenix feathers. When she reached the end, she struck a series of over-dramatic poses as cameras flashed all around her. She then turned and walked back the way she came, passing a light green mare wearing a dress with every inch covered in colorful flowers. This dress is wunderbar, came a heavily accented voice from the audience. I love the way it flows off the tail, like un fresh spring breeze. I must say, a nasally male voice added, I now have a marvelous desire to frolic through the wildflowers once this fantastic show has concluded. I say, I do the stuck-up snob voice very well, if I do say so myself. From backstage, Rarity squealed with delight at the overheard praise. This was it. Her dream had come true. With the fashion show Carousel Boutique, and its owner would be famous throughout Equestria. Suddenly, the audience gasped in shock as the music screeched to a halt. Uh-oh. She thought, that's never a good noise. That's never a good noise. Yes, it said twice. She rushed to the curtain. Did one of the models trip? Rarely thought, biting her lip in apprehension as she peeked out. There, at the end of the catwalk, stood a blonde filly dressed in the most most atrocious garb Rarity had ever seen. A beige dress covered in neon pink polka dots, and a hem so long it dragged along the floor. That does sound awful. You there, she called. What are you doing there? Get out at once. It's me, Mommy. The white-colored filly called out happily as she turned around. I made this dress so I could be in the show. Did she say Mommy? I hadn't heard she was married. Good heavens, a pregnancy scandal. Oh my. Oh, 1 second. My voice is starting to get scratchy. Alright, I'm back. Rarity looked around as voices of disgust and admonishment filled the room. They began to distort, sounding warped and otherworldly as the faces of the audience began to fade into darkness, leaving the two of them alone in the spotlight. No! Rarity objected to the voices. She's not my... I'm not... I didn't do anything wrong! Mommy? The filly asked as her entire body began to melt, dripping into a puddle. No! Stop it! Rarity cried out. Me? Rarity bolted upright and shrieked at the top of her lungs, scaring the hay out of the four mares standing in the mansion's entrance hall, along with the trio of newly diapered foals. For a moment there was silence, and then the babies burst out crying again. Oh, for Rarity! Applejack yelled. What's the big idea? Rarity looked at the foal bawling her eyes out on Applejack's shoulder for a moment, before hastily looking away. Nothing, she said, stepping off the couch she was laying upon. It was just a nightmare. Oh no. Fluttershy gasped as she rocked the pink fillies in her hooves. Was it the one with the giant marshmallow again? Fluttershy! Rarity hissed, blushing. Oh, giant marshmallow. Apparently, Rarity tastes like marshmallows. She then lowered her head inside. I wish it was, she muttered. Speaking of nightmares, hi Luna. Speaking of nightmares, hi Luna. Huh. Pinky said, waving her forehoof and glancing past the other ponies in the room. The others turned and gasped as Princess Luna walked into the room through the newly opened doorway. Luna! Twilight exclaimed, walking forward. Am I glad to see you? At that moment, the princess raised her right forehoof and smacked it across Twilight's face, knocking her to the ground. Twilight was just barely able to maintain her levitation spell on the foal she was carrying as she hit the stone. Thou dare address thy princess so informally? She shouted. Kneel ye, and grant us the respect our stature deserves. Though shocked by the princess's actions, the other ponies nonetheless did as she asked, kneeling in fear. Twilight shifted on the ground in order to do so. My apologies, princess, she sputtered out. Have we done something to upset you? Upset us, she bellowed. We have heard from Rainbow Dash. Thou hast entered this forbidden dwelling and used the profane shrine located within to fashion abominations of nature from thy very flesh. I'm sorry, princess. It was an accident, Twilight managed to answer. Silence! Luna roared. We will hear no excuses, but are not without mercy. Hear ye all. Turn over the monsters to us so that they may be destroyed, and all shall be forgiven. Twilight's eyes widened. But, princess, she objected, getting to her hooves, they're only foals. They only appear as such to untrained eyes, Luna continued, gesturing towards the levitated foal on Twilight's right. On this On the inside, they are sociopathic hate filled with sociopathic hate-filled creatures that exist only to make ponies suffer. She stepped forward. We shall not ask again. Turn those creatures over to us immediately. You witch, Rarity whispered, glaring daggers at the dark mare before her. Now wait just an apple-picking minute. Applejack objected from across the room. There ain't no way in Tartarus that we're doing that, princess. Then thou shalt be destroyed. Try it, Fluttershy yelled in response. Whoa! Fluttershy yelling. Holy crap! Oh, we may retract what I said earlier about Luna being the most powerful entity in the Equestria at the moment. Fluttershy has her beat. Just by... Psycho Shy, that's all I got to say. Fluttershy yelled in response, squeezing her foal tight against her chest. Yeah, Pinkie Pie added. So be it! With that, the Moon Princess sent out an intense beam of dark energy against the ponies before her, only to be blocked by a massive shield of purple light. Pinkie! Twilight called out, levitating the rainbow-maned foal in her direction. Got it, she answered, snatching the foal in the air. I'll hold her off. You girls found the other way out. Applejack yelled behind her. But Twilight! But Twilight! Applejack objected. Now, Applejack, get the foals to safety. But now! Applejack hesitated for a moment before returning further into the mansion. Pinkie Pie, Rarity, and Fluttershy following right behind her. You better be right behind us, Twa, she yelled over her shoulder. I will be, Twilight called back, pouring all her energy into the shield. Luna responded by shooting another beam of green light at the shield, holding it this time so it continued to hammer against Twilight's defenses. The punishment for defying thy princess is death, she threatened. Perhaps if you were the real princess, I'd care. Twilight snapped back. Luna narrowed her eyes. What dost thou mean? She questioned, lowering her voice for the first time. What dost thou mean? Oh, she questioned, lowering her voice for the first time. The real Luna isn't so cruel, nor this weak, Twilight explained, knowing the princess's beam of light had not made so much as a dent in her barrier. Also, her magic aura isn't green, she added. Is that a fact? Or the princess could only chuckle. Is that a fact? She asked. So what are you really? A changeling? Twilight demanded. Chrysalis? She added, narrowing her eyes. Not quite, came a deep, raspy, and unexpected male voice from Luna's lips. Green smoke evaporated off the fake princess's throat, as if its 4 legs unraveled into hairy pears that splayed out on either side. Its head sunk into its body, where its mane turned a sickly green color, and its face grew multiple eyes, and a pair of enormous fangs. Within only a few moments, the princess of the night had transformed into a monstrous spider that now stood before Twilight. Without another word, it spat a goblet of acid at Twilight's head. It ripped through her shield, which was designed to repel magical energy, not physical force, and whizzed past her head where it slammed into the stairs behind her, burning a hole into the stonework. Her shield breached, Twilight ran, lifting up the fallen chandelier from earlier, which stood in her path, and flinging it behind her at the monster. It quickly jumped out of the way of the incoming object and scurried after Twilight with surprising speed. Twilight galloped up the stairs and to the left as the spider pursued her. This way, girls, Pinkie said as she darted into the first floor's and east hallway, the same one that led back to the room with the life mirror. Pinkie? Reddy called out, confused. Was there an exit here? It's the skylight, Pinkie answered. It's our best bet. The 4 ponies headed down into the stone passageway, with the 3 foals in tow, Rarity casting a rudimentary light spell as they did so, making sure the brightness was kept low so they didn't inadvertently set off the mirror again. They searched around the circular room for anything they could use to break the glass ceiling in the middle. In one part, Fluttershy found a pile of rusted armor and weaponry, sized for all sorts of creatures, lying abandoned on the floor. She called the other 3 over, and together they quickly hatched a plan. Pinky took custody of the foals and tried to get them to stop crying, while both Fluttershy and Rarity each grabbed a heavy mace from the pile. Fluttershy flew up to the edge of the skylight with the mace in her mouth and began hammering against the glass perimeter with it. Rarity did the same with the opposite end, using her magic to levitate her mace up to the ceiling. Finally, Applejack lined up the other heavy equipment in the front of her and started to buck it straight up at the mirror's center. Between the three of them, they managed to put more and more cracks into the glass until finally it completely shattered, dumping the boulders, logs, and gathered moss that had been piled up on top of it, onto the floor of the room, likewise shattering the mirror on the floor with the impact. As it broke, the mirror gave off a blast of white light that filled the room and shot off into the sky. Pinky reacted quickly and managed to cover the foal's eyes, but the rest of them were momentarily blinded. Whew! Whoa! Applejack exclaimed, rubbing her eyes with a hoof. Didn't expect that to happen. The others nodded woozily. Right, Applejack determined. You girls get these foals out of here. I'm going back for Twi. And that's the end of Chapter 3 of My Little Mommies. The Spider. Ooh, spider. Have I mentioned I bloody hate spiders? Yeah, and I am very sorry for blowing out your headphones / speakers. Alright, next up, I'm going to do Final and Octavia University Days. Their next chapter, because I've been neglecting it as of late. After a short break. Good night, everybody. This has been Nightlife, giving you the reading that you've been waiting for. Good night, and whatever.